Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. Today's video is our third video in our solo only run of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and we're using Fuecoco, the final of the Paldean starters. When we look at Fuecoco's base stat total, we've got really good HP, really good special attack. We've also got decent defense and special defense, but not very good speed or attack. Our move pool is good, but limited in typing, and our TMs are not really very beneficial as a lot of them are physical attacks. We pick up our Fuecoco starter, head down to the beach, battle Nemona. Few embers is all it takes to take out her Sprigatito, and we move on through the rest of the tutorial until we reach the gates of Mesagoza, where we lose to Nemona and we can go into the city. After all of that is said and done, we are on a time of 1 hour and 4 minutes and ready to go and explore Paldea. As usual, Katie is our first gym leader. We're at level 14 with a playtime of 1 hour and 21 minutes, and we're also holding the charcoal item to boost our fire damage. We start the fight off by terrestrializing and hitting Ember. Nimble does outspeed us and does a double kick, but it doesn't do too much damage. We then outspeed Tarantula, take it down with a single Ember, before Katie's final Pokemon, Teddiursa, comes in, which terrestrializes to the bug type. It misses a Fury Swipe against us, and we hit for about 3/4 with Ember before it hits us with a Fury Cutter for minimal damage, and we finish it off with an Ember, granting us our first gym badge in this challenge. As we head over to Brassius, I decide to stop off at Clough. We're at level 15 with a playtime of 1 hour and 31 minutes. And we've also learned Incinerate, which is going to help us. Clough does outspeed us, but it has low special defense. So we keep hitting Incinerate until we take it down to Anger Point. We do get very low on health because of a defense drop from Rock Smash as well. But luckily, our final Incinerate takes it down and ends the first phase. For the second phase of Clough, we have Arven join us, and he's got his shoulder with him, which is going to be a massive help, especially as I forgot to heal after I beat Katie, so I can't use my Terra Orb as it hasn't been recharged. We hit Incinerate and it does really minimal damage, but Shoulder's using Water Gun, so a few turns and it drops to its anger point, decreasing its defenses. A few more turns after that and Clough goes down, and we've beaten our first Titan of the run. Brassius, the grass type gym leader, is next. We're at level 16. We've got a playtime of 1 hour and 47 minutes, and this fight is quite trivial for Fuecoco, as all we have to do is terrestrialize turn 1. We're still holding the charcoal, so we outspeed Petlil, take it down in 1 Incinerate, outspeed Smoliv, take it down in 1 Incinerate. We don't outspeed Sudowoodo, but we survive the Rock Throw, take it down to its Sturdy, and on the second turn it misses Rock Throw and we take it out. That grants us our second gym badge, and we can move on to our second Titan. Bombardier is up next, and we are at level 21 with a playtime of 2 hours 15 minutes, making this the fastest we have beat this fight with all 3 of the starters so far. We're using the same strategy as we have been so far: terrestrialize, using the charcoal and hitting Incinerate. We take minimal damage on the first turn, but the second turn we go down to the red. Luckily we managed to take it down to the checkpoint and managed to go to phase 2. Arven joins us for phase 2, bringing along Knackley this time, and Knackley is useless. All it ever does is rock polish and it never helps us. But I do allow a heal on turn 1, as we can't heal in between phases of this fight only. So we heal up and then we hit Terra, keep hitting Incinerate, eventually going down into the red, which activates our Blaze ability, allowing us to take out Bombardier and our second Titan. Giacomo's next, and it's our first team starbase of this run. We picked up leftovers in between this by sneaking over to Casfira Town, so this fight is a lot easier because of that. On turn 1 we terrestrialize and go for Incinerate against Pawniard, which outspeeds us and hits us with Aerial Ace for very minimal damage. The Starmobile comes out next, and we just keep hitting Incinerate. Thanks to the Starmobile going for Metal Sound a few times, we are able to survive on full HP with Leftovers Recovery and take it out on the final turn, and that gives us our first Team Starbase defeated. For our third gym, we're going to Iono. We're at level 32 now. We've got 3 hours and 49 minutes of playtime. And we terrestrialize turn 1, take Wattrel out with a single flamethrower after taking minimal damage. Bellybolt comes out and outspeeds us the first turn, landing a water gun, but we land a powerful flamethrower which also burns. On the second turn, we outspeed the Bellybolt and take it out. Luxio comes out next, hits us with Spark, and lands a critical hit before we take it out with a flamethrower. Her final Pokemon is Mismagius, which will terrestrialize into the electric type. We go for Flamethrower as it goes for Confuse Ray, and I pause a minute after this, kind of trying to work out if we can survive the Hex or not, but I decide to go for it, and we do survive in the red before taking Miss Magius out with a final Flamethrower, and that gives us 3 gym badges now. Orthworm's up next. We're at level 33 with a playtime of 3 hours and 59 minutes, and honestly this is just a straight victory. 1 flamethrower ends the first phase and we can move on to the second phase. The second phase of Orthworm is very simple as well. Unfortunately, I once again forgot to heal, so I don't have my Terra Orb. But Arven's Toedschool goes down on the first turn as we hit a Flamethrower for massive damage. And then the second turn, we go for Flamethrower again after taking minimal damage from a Headbutt. And that grants us our third Titan defeated now. So only 2 more left. Over to Mela next, the Fire Team Star Leader, and we are at level 37 with a playtime of 4 hours and 25 minutes. We've learnt Fire Blast, and that's going to be very helpful as it's a very powerful attack, and Torkoal sets up the sun on its first turn. We actually outspeed Torkoal, so we do massive damage turn 1 before taking minimal damage from a Flame Wheel. On the second turn, we take it out with a Flamethrower, and then the Starmobile comes in. We hit Fire Blast, which does about a third, just under. So we keep going for Fire Blast after each turn, taking minimal damage from the Starmobile's fire attacks, eventually getting us the victory. We're over to Rhyme now. As you can see, we've already beaten Larry and Kofu. We beat Larry at level 47 with a playtime of 5 hours and 5 minutes. We used a berry to negate Yawn from Kamala, and then we just kept hitting Fire Blast until everything went down. We then got our Terra Normal from the restaurant person after he gave us our 53 shards, went over to Kofu, and with Terra boosted Hyper Voice and no weakness to water now, we took all his team down in 1 hit. It really wasn't a challenge. For Rhyme, we are at level 54 with a playtime of 6 hours and 33 minutes. We're using the Metronome item this fight as we're only going to be using Snarl, so it will get boosted each turn we use it. We also get an Omni boost for terrestrializing, and then we get a couple of other boosts, one when we beat Burnett and one when we survive a hit from Houndstone, which means that by the time Toxtricity comes out and terrestrializes, we outspeed it and it goes down to a single Snarl. After beating Rhyme, we head on down to Atticus, the poison leader of Team Star. We are at level 55 with a playtime of 6 hours and 44 minutes. On turn 1, we terrestrialize the normal type and kill Skuntank with a single flamethrower after taking a sucker punch. This leads to Muck, which goes down to a Fire Blast, leaving only Revavroom. The reason we terrestrialize is because Revavroom has Bulldoze, and we didn't want to take that before as it lowers our speed. So Revavroom comes out, and we take that down with a single flamethrower after taking a hit from it. This leads to the Starmobile, which does manage to poison us on turn 1, but flamethrower does about half. On the next turn, we survive with 7 HP left and finish it off with another flamethrower. After we beat Atticus, we head on over to Iron Treads now. We're still at level 55 with a playtime of 6 hours and 55 minutes. We terrestrialize turn 1 so that if it goes for Earthquake we can survive, or Stone Edge. We go for Flamethrower, and after taking massive damage from a hit, we do manage to take Iron Treads out in a single hit. For phase 2, Arven's back with us again, and he's got Scovillain this time, which is a decent Pokemon. We don't Terror this time and just go for the Flamethrower, as Iron Treads goes for Rapid Spin, boosting its speed, but Scovillain went for Scary Face, which lowers its speed harshly. So it's now at -1. Flamethrower does about 3/4, and on the next turn, Scovillain goes for a Fire Fang, outspeeding it, and we get hit by an Iron Head, taking minimal damage, but it does flinches. On the final turn, Scovillain hits another Fire Fang, and that ends Iron Treads, the Quaking Earth Titan. Next up, we head over to Grusha. We're at level 62 with a time of 7 hours 56 minutes. We chose Grusha because we have the type advantage. So Frostmoth's out first, which we outspeed and take down with a Flamethrower as it's quad weak to it. This means that Frostmoth can't set up the snow for Beartic, so we still outspeed Beartic and take Beartic out with a Flamethrower as well. So Titan's up next, and it outspeeds us and hits us with Liquidation as we hit a Fire Blast. On the second turn, I terrestrialize to survive the Liquidation and take it out with a Flamethrower. Grusha's final Pokemon is Altaria, which terrestrializes to the Ice type. We go for Flamethrower, survive the Hurricane, but get confused. Luckily, we don't hit ourselves in confusion and take Altaria out in a single Flamethrower, granting us our 7th gym badge. Our final gym leader of this run is Tulip. We're now at level 66 and we've got a time of 8 hours and 13 minutes on the clock. We don't terrestrialize this fight, but we do hit Fire Blast against Faragorith turn 1, taking it out after outspeeding it. God was out next, and although we hit Fire Blast, it isn't a one-hit KO. We take a Psychic and finish it off with a Flamethrower. A Spartha is out after that, and we don't outspeed a Spartha. It hits us with Psychic before going down to a single Fire Blast. Tulip's final Pokemon is Florges. We outspeed it, hit it with a Fire Blast for about half before taking a Psychic and leaving us in the red. On the final turn, we hit a final Fire Blast, taking out Florges. Honestly, this is by far from my first attempt. Hitting all those Fire Blasts has been a lot of RNG involved, but I'm glad we finally got it done. Over to Dondozo and Tatsugiri now. We are at level 66 still with 8 hours and 30 minutes. The first stage of Dondozo was simple. We Terra Normaled, Hyper Voiced, and took it down in a couple of hits. For the second stage, Arven joins us. He's got his Greedent this time, and we're going to Terra Normal and Hyper Voice. Keep hitting it until it goes down. It lands a Body Slam against Greedent and does minimal damage to us overall, leaving only Tatsugiri to defeat. After we've defeated Dondozo's second stage, that just leaves us with the Titan Tatsugiri left to defeat. We follow the same strategy of terrestrializing turn 1 and going for normal. We take a Dragon Pulse the first turn, which does big damage. But after that, Tatsugiri only goes for Icy Wind, which doesn't do too much, only slows us down. So a few Hyper Voices and takedowns from Greedent means that we can get victory. And all we've got left now to do for this is defeat Arven in our final battle. Ortega's up next, and we're at level 67 with a playtime of 8 hours and 49 minutes. Azumarill leads, but we outspeed it, Terra Normal, and hit Hyper Voice as it goes for Charm, which doesn't help it as it only lowers physical attack. We finish it off with a Hyper Voice, leading to Wigglytuff, which we also outspeed and survives a Flamethrower before hitting us with a Play Rough, and we take it out of a second Flamethrower. Doc spawns out next, and we can't go for Flamethrower as it has well-baked body, so we go for Hyper Voice. It does actually outspeed us and hit a play rough, and then the second turn is the same as the first with it going down. That only leaves the Starmobile, which comes out and uses Steel Roller, which does very minimal damage to us as we hit Flamethrower. It doesn't do quite half, so on the next turn we go for Fire Blast. We survive Mystical Talk on like 3 HP and take it down after landing the Fire Blast, meaning we've only got one Team Starbase left to go, and we're also at the point now where this video took so long because of these final fights, if I'm being honest. Now we're on to the real challenging part of this run. In particular, Fuecoco's speed is really holding us back in a lot of the fights. So Arven's next. We're at level 85 with a playtime of 10 hours and 20 minutes and a total recording time between Ortega and Arven of about 8 hours. He leaves Greedent, which we take out with a Fire Blast, and then Garganacle comes out next. We don't terrestrialize turn 1, and I've never seen the miss of Stone Edge here, but Fire Blast does over half, and we terrestrialize turn 2, finishing Garganacle off. Toadstool comes out next, which goes down to a single Flamethrower. Then Scavillain comes out and goes down to another Flamethrower. This leads to Cloyster, which goes down to a single Hyper Voice. Arven's final Pokemon, Mabastiff, comes out and terrestrializes to Dark type. It still outspeeds us and hits us for a crunch before it goes down to a Fire Blast. After beating Arven, I spend a lot of time trying to beat the Elite Four. We can beat all of them except for Hassel at this point. So Rika's first, and we're going to Terra Normal and hit Hyper Voice. It doesn't quite take Wishcash out. I think it's a low roll this run, but we take minimal damage from a Muddy Water. Camerup's up next, which falls to a single Hyper Voice. Then Donphan comes out. It survives the Hyper Voice thanks to its sturdy ability, but goes down on the turn after hitting a very minimal Earthquake. Dugtrio still outspeeds us, but only sets up the Sandstorm and then goes down to a Hyper Voice. And Rika's final Pokemon is Clodsire, which terrestrializes to ground, takes a Hyper Voice and hits with an Earthquake. The second turn it goes for Protect, which just delays the inevitable. It usually goes for Toxic turn 1 and then Protect turn 2. But on turn 3 we hit our final Hyper Voice, taking it out and letting us go up against Poppy. In this run, Poppy is probably the easiest Elite Four member as she's a Steel type and we outspeed most of her team, if not all of it. So Copperage is up first, we hit Flamethrower and it goes down. Next up is Bronzong, which goes down to a single Flamethrower. Corviknight goes down to a single Flamethrower. Magnezone does not go down to a single Flamethrower because it has Sturdy, but only ever sets up a light screen, goes down the next turn. Because of the light screen, Tinkaton isn't a one-hit KO, but we can survive Tinkaton's Stone Edge without terrestrialization and take it down after a couple of Flamethrowers. And that leaves us to the third Elite Four member, Larry. Up next is Larry, and he's using flying types this time. He leads with Tropius, which is outsped and goes down to a single Flamethrower. And then he sends in Staraptor, which outspeeds us but goes for Brave Bird, and then we take it out with Flamethrower. Oricorio's up next, and this is Larry's most annoying Pokemon because Revelation Dance just seems to crit so often, and the amount of times I've hit myself in confusion because of Teeter Dance. But it goes for Teeter Dance this turn. We don't hit ourselves in confusion and take it out with a Flamethrower. This leads to Altaria, which we do outspeed. We hit a Hyper Voice and it hits us with Dragon Pulse as we don't one-shot it, and take it out with another Hyper Voice. Larry's final Pokemon is Flamigo, which he terrestrializes into the flying type and hits us with close combat, which is why I don't terrestrialize in this fight. We survived that quite well, and with the lower defense and special defense, Flamethrower is enough to finish Flamigo off in one hit. Hassle's the final Elite Four member, and spoiler, we don't win this. It takes 12 hours real time for me to beat this fight. But Noivern's out first, and it always goes for Super Fang, turn 1. We don't terrestrialize against Noivern because we want to bait the Dragalge to use Hydro Pump against it so it can have a chance of missing. If we don't, we always lose to the Dragalge. So it goes for Air Slash turn 2 after we use Hyper Voice and we take Noivern out. Dragalge comes out next, and that's when we Terra because we can survive Hydro Pump if we're Terra'd. Luckily, this time it does miss after we outspeed it, so we can take it down on the second turn. Flapple, we outspeed and goes down to a single Hyper Voice. Haxorus outspeeds us, hits a Dragon Claw, but also goes down to a single Hyper Voice, and that leaves Baxcalibur, which we don't outspeed, and it hits us with Glaive Rush, which takes us out. And I tried this several times and could not get past Hassle at this point. So after realising that we can't beat the Elite Four, it's time for us to beat Eri. We are at level 87, we've got 11 hours and 15 minutes of playtime. She leads Toxicroak, which we outspeed and goes down to a single Fire Blast. Persimmon is her second Pokemon, which goes down to a single Flamethrower. Annihilate outspeeds us and goes for close combat, and we take it out with a Fire Blast. The reason we don't Terror in this fight is because they're all fighting types. They would do massive damage to us. Lucario comes out, and I'm hesitating because I'm not sure if we're going to outspeed at this point, but we do, and we hit a Flamethrower, which crits, and I don't think it matters. And that just leaves the Starmobile, which comes out and hits us with a high horsepower, which we take really well. We hit a Fire Blast, well, we go for Fire Blast and it misses, should I say, and we take a high horsepower again and hit a Fire Blast. Now at this point I expect another high horsepower, so I do Terror, but the Starmobile just goes for shift gear and gets taken out by a Flamethrower, and that is all of the Team Star bases finally done. So our next win is against Clavel at level 94 with a time of 11 hours and 52 minutes, and we need a lot of things to go our way at the start of this fight. So he leads Oranguru, and we need it to not go for Yawn, which luckily it doesn't. We outspeed on the first turn, and we can't take it out with one Fire Blast. I've tried, but it goes for Foul Play, and we finish it off on the second turn. Houndoom's up second, and we need Dark Pulse not to flinch as we take it out with two Hyper Voices. And luckily this time, neither of them do. And the final thing we need to go our way is to land the Fire Blast against Poltergeist, which we do. This leads to Amoonguss, which goes down to a single Flamethrower, and then Abomasnow, which also goes down to a single Flamethrower. Clavel's final Pokemon is Quaquaval, which goes for Terra Water against us, so we go for Terra Normal and hit Hyper Voice. We do outspeed the first turn, but Aqua Step improves its speed, which means that the second turn it outspeeds us. We survive with 4 HP remaining and finally manage to beat Director Clavel, leaving only Champion Geeta or Penny to beat next. So I forgot we still have to beat Hassel. That's my fault, I apologise. But we are at level 97. We still don't outspeed Noivern, which goes for a Super Fang, but we're holding a Metronome item this time because we outspeed most other things. So we go for Hyper Voice, and unfortunately Noivern goes for a second Super Fang, which is definitely annoying, but we obviously managed to win. Dragalge gets out second, and we can hit Terra for the extra boost in damage and take it out in one hit. Then Flapple goes down. After Flapple is Haxorus, which still outspeeds us and hits us with a Dragon Claw, but we survive and take it down. The final Pokemon, Excalibur, is going to terrestrialize, but we now outspeed it and it goes down to a single Hyper Voice. And we've finally beaten Hassel. I bet everyone was expecting Geeta next, but it's not. I tried Geeta for about 3 hours and could not get past Glimora no matter what I did until I came up with a strategy that I did, which was to change our nature from modest to timid, giving us more speed. But while I was out, I forgot that we don't have to re-challenge the Elite Four, so I went for Penny first. And Penny leads Umbreon, which can tank a Fire Blast and hits us with a Dark Pulse, which does minimal damage, and we finish it with a Flamethrower. Vaporeon's up next, and we Terra Normal and hit Snarl, as Vaporeon's Hydro Pump never seems to miss, and then we finish it off with Hyper Voice. Flareon comes in, we hit a Hyper Voice and it hits a Flare Blitz that doesn't quite take it out, so we finish it off. Jolteon comes out and luckily misses the Thunder, and we can finish it off with a Hyper Voice. Leafeon comes out, we outspeed it now finally, so we can take it out with a single Flamethrower, and that just leaves Sylveon. We hit a Flamethrower, which does not do half as I thought it would, and Sylveon hits us with Moonblast, so we go for a Fire Blast and take it out. We're at level 98 at this point, and it was 13 hours and 3 minutes when we started this battle. Now it's time for Geeta, and honestly, I was worried that I still wouldn't be able to do this fight after changing our nature. But she leads a Sparfer, and it always goes for Lumina Crush and outspeeds us, but we can take it out of a single Flamethrower. Avalug's up next, which Flamethrower, it's got terrible special defense, it goes down. King Gambit's third, and that goes down to Flamethrower. She's got 3 Pokemon weak to fire on her team. Veluza comes out, so we Terra and we hit Hyper Voice, and that goes down in 1 hit, and that leaves Go-Go before her final Pokemon, which goes down to a single Flamethrower. Now, Glimora comes out, and this is a moment of truth for me, because if we don't outspeed, I cannot win. Glimora just does too much damage. But luckily we do. Flamethrower does not do a lot, and honestly, I'm mentally panicking here because I've forgotten about Blaze. So it hits Sludge Wave, which takes us very low and poisons us. And we are on 1 turn away, and I decide to just go for Fire Blast and see how much it can do, because if I die, I was like, I will go and just hit Fire Blast twice, hopefully. But with Blaze, we are actually able to take out the Glimora, and that just leaves Nemona and Toro to go. Next up is Nemona. We are at level 99 with a playtime of 13 hours and 29 minutes. And we've had to do something I did not want to do, which was to learn Protect and stall for extra HP back with leftovers. Nemona leads with Lycanroc, which goes for Stone Edge, and we go for Fire Blast, which does good damage, and then we go for Protect to get some HP back before finishing Lycanroc off after a second Stone Edge. She sends in Orthworm, and I forget to Protect, and we take it out with a single Flamethrower. Grudra's next, and we Protect, and then we go for Hyper Voice, which does damage less than I would like it to do. This carries on for a couple of turns with Gudra missing a Muddy Water in between. And after that is the Dunsparce, which we Protect, and then on the second turn outspeed and hit a Fire Blast to take it out. Pawmo's out afterwards, and we Protect as it goes for a close combat. On the next turn it outspeeds us, going for Double Shock, which removes its electric type, but it goes down to a single Flamethrower. Nemona's final Pokemon is Meowscarada, which we go for Protect, and I see the Shadow Claw, so I'm like, let's Terra, because if they go for Shadow Claw again, we'll be immune to it, and we go for Flamethrower. Unfortunately, Meowscarada goes for Thunder Punch, but doesn't quite knock us out, and Flamethrower gets the KO in one hit. So we're down to Professor Toro with 14 hours and 32 minutes, and I'm not going to beat around the bush. I could not beat this fight. No matter what I did, I could not get past his second Pokemon. It would be Iron Hands if I terrored, which would always survive and take me out, or Iron Thorns if I didn't, which once again would survive and take me out. I tried Protect Stalling, I tried using different items, I tried everything I could, and I could not beat this fight. I believe if we're in Scarlet that I'd have been able to beat Sada. I believe the Iron Moth was the problem. So, with all that being said, I'll show you one of my losses, one of many, because I spent about 2 hours trying this today. And thank you for watching the video. I'll probably do this again in Scarlet at some point, just to show that Fuecoco could beat Scarlet and just not Violet. But if you've enjoyed the video, feel free to like and subscribe. We're going to be doing Goldengo for the next challenge, which will be fun because it's fully evolved and has good stats. But I am taking requests now, so if you have any requests for a Pokemon, let me know. And I've also done a tier list to put the Pokemon in. Quaxley is the highest because I think Moxie just made it the better Pokemon. Sprigatito's in there because it actually finished, and Fuecoco's in the did not finish category as it did not finish. But with all that said, thank you very much. If you've made it to the end of the video, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.